Hey there YouTube, it's Bobi aka Paginator, and I'm here today to wrap up the last few September reads that I haven't mentioned and pick my deck of TBR reads for the month of October. So the last What I've Been Reading Lately video covered a good chunk into September. It's been a pretty good reading month, and we're just at the tail end of the month here. I think this video is going to post on September 30th, but I'm pretty sure that I have finished everything that I'm going to finish in the month. So, to pick up kind of where I left off recapping what I read Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. I think I said that name right. Anyway, this came in my Owl Crate and my Fairy Loot and my bookish box. And I read the Fairy Loot copy. I put the Owl Crate copy in my classroom library, and then my bookish box copy I sent to a friend. So there we go. Overall, I gave this book around 4.5-ish stars. It was a really interesting premise about Sheetal, who is half star, half human, and her human side is East Indian American culture, and she has to hide the fact that she's half star. She's constantly dyeing her hair because it's like glittery silver normally, but she wants to fit in with her other Indian friends, so she dyes it black all the time. Her best friend Meenal does know her secret, but her boyfriend Dev does not. Most people in her life do not. And when her father is accidentally hurt when she accidentally releases some star fire, she has to go up to the Starry Kingdom to win back some pure star blood to heal her father. But in order to do that, her family members, who are a little shady, say, okay, great, we'll give you the blood if you win this competition for us so that we can rule the heavens again. It's like a talent competition, kind of like America's Got Talent in the sky, and she enters as a singer. There are some interesting things that take place, and overall I was really pleased with the writing style, the concept, the world building, everything. So I definitely look forward to reading the next book by this author when it comes out, which won't be for a while, but there you go. Next, I read an audiobook that I don't have to hold up with for you. It is Red Queen by Christina Henry. It is the second book in the Alice trilogy by Christina Henry, and it is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland that's really, really dark. I can't tell you a whole lot about the second book, but I can tell you in the first one, Alice is in a mental institution and she escapes along with her friend Hatcher, and they encounter lots of very dark, creepy creatures that are pulled from the pages of Lewis Carroll. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed that one, The Red Queen, which is, again, book 2. And then I also picked up Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too, which is kind of a graphic novel, and I liked it so much I immediately took it to school, and the kids got it checked out, so I can't hold it up to show you as well. But it's the story of a little alien named Jomny who gets sent to Earth to learn about humans and report back to his fellow aliens. And he makes friends with a tree and a hedgehog and an egg and lots of different creatures and living things, but none of them are humans. He, of course, thinks they're humans because they live on Earth, so they must be humans. And he learns a lot from these creatures that he makes friends with and reports back to the aliens on his home planet, who are not terribly nice. Next, I read Winter Counts, and this one is an adult book by David Heska Wanbley-Waden, who is an own voices writer. He is Native American and telling the story of a Native American vigilante who carries out justice against people who don't get the proper punishment. Because on the res, the tribal courts prosecute misdemeanor crimes, but the federal government's supposed to take care of all of the felonies, but they're only interested in really big crimes. So like sexual assault, even though in our minds we're thinking, oh gosh, that's a really big bad crime, the federal government doesn't deal with that. So a lot of things get unpunished. And so this book starts out with a pretty violent chapter, the first chapter of him beating up a PE teacher who sexually assaults boys and girls at his school. So he deservedly gets the crap kicked out of him. Virgil, our main character, Virgil Wounded Horse, is raising his nephew, and just trying to make a living by carrying out this vigilante justice. But his nephew gets set up and accused of a federal charge of drug trafficking, and he's got to figure out how to get his nephew out of this situation and figure out who set him up in the first place. And then lastly, I just finished reading a few minutes ago Empress of All Seasons by Emiko Jean. This was one of my TBR picks for the month of September, and I did not love it. I read a bunch of reviews. Some people really, really love this book, and some people are like, eh. I'm one of the ones on this one. It just didn't... I really liked the idea of it. The main character, Mari, she's yokai, which means she's like a shape-shifting Japanese, I think it's like technically a demon creature. Anyway, she is not supposed to enter this competition, but she does anyway. And it's just supposed to be for human girls. Yokai are not supposed to enter, but she does. And it's a competition to marry the emperor, become the empress, and they have to conquer or survive rooms in the palace dedicated to each of the seasons. But the rooms are almost sentient. They can like be changed. The weather can be changed. Different elements and things can come in, and so the rooms can attack you. Does that make sense? Anyway, fantastic premise. I just wasn't in love with the carrying out of it, and there was a point where Mari's main, like the love interest that she like didn't even know at the beginning of the book, about 2/3 of the way in, is saying, I would fight death for her, and they didn't really even meet till just a few chapters before that, and it really bothered me. Like, how do you love someone so quickly, so much, and it just wasn't connecting for me. So again, this is just my opinion. Maybe you've read this and you adored it, and if so, I am really, really glad for you. I think, though, I am going to pass this book on to someone who might enjoy it more than I did. So that brings us to drawing the TBR cards from my deck of TBR for the month of October. I am going to draw 5 cards, and we'll see how we do. In September, I read a lot more than 5 books, but some months are, you know, roller coastery, and maybe I'll read less, maybe I'll read more, I don't know. So I'm going to reach into the deck, and this one says, read a book set in a country that is not your own. Alright, let's see what I can find. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to be reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It is set in Mexico. At least that's what the dust jacket's telling me, so there we go. This is good because I did a poll. I posted a poll in one of my Facebook groups and said, what book should I read next and review? And they voted for this one, so win-win, right? Okay, let's pick another card, and this one says, read a book with a season in the title. This might take a minute. Alright, so I have The Winter Witch. This is by Paula Braxton, and to be honest, I don't remember where I got this book from. I wonder if it was in one of my book bundler thingies. Like this summer, I ordered a box of books from the book bundler, and maybe it came from this because I really don't remember where I got this. But it has a season in the title, so we're going to read it, and it's talking about an early 19th century Welsh town where there is Morgana, who has not spoken since she was a young girl, says her silence is a mystery as well as her magic. Concerned for her safety, her mother is anxious to see her married, and Kai Jenkins, a widower from the far hills, seems the best choice. After her wedding, Morgana is heartbroken at leaving her mother and wary of this man whom she does not know, and will take her away to begin a new life. But she soon falls in love with Kai's farm and the wild mountains that surround it. Kai works to understand the beautiful half-tamed creature is chosen for his bride, and slowly he begins to win Morgana's affections. It's not long, however, before her strangeness begins to be remarked upon in her new village. A dark force is at work there, a person who will stop at nothing to turn the townspeople against Morgana. Forced to defend her home, her man, and herself, Morgana must learn to harness her power or she will lose everything. Wow. This sounds intense. Should be interesting, though. And I haven't read a book set in Wales in maybe ever. I don't know. I took a Celtic history class in college, and we read some things from Wales, but it's been ages. Alright, choice number 3. Let's see what we've got here. Read a book that features something you love to do. Okay. Alright, so I chose The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. This is the first in a series, and I've had it for ages and never picked it up, so here we go. Now, what it has to do with the prompt is something that you love to do. This is all about spying and being nosy, and the trashy, garbagey part of me is really nosy. Like, I want to know things, and I don't always, like, I try really hard not to stick my nose into things that are none of my business, but sometimes I'm like, I really want to know. Because I grew up in a small town, and I like knowing people's, like, it's just, you grow up knowing everybody's business and stuff, so I am that nosy garbage person. And that's okay, because how else would I pick up details and things for my writing if I wasn't nosy? That's a good reason, right? Sure. Alright, round 4. And this one says, read a banned book. Oh gosh. Okay, I've got some explaining to do. So I picked One Man Guy by Michael Barakiva. This book was recommended to me by someone, and to be honest, I don't know if it's been banned or challenged anywhere, but I thought, well, gosh dang it, I don't know. And if I were to do this the right way, I would get on the ALA website and look at their list of frequently banned and challenged books. But instead I thought, you know what, I'm going to pick a book that I think that some people in my community might challenge. So, One Man Guy, the reason why I think it might be challenged by certain people in my community is because this is about a boy named Alec who is straight. He has to go to summer school to bring up his grades, and he's pretty sure it's going to be awful. But he meets Ethan, who's like this cool dude. He's very confident, and Ethan seems to be like wanting to be more than friends with Alec, but Alec's never really thought about having a boyfriend. He's barely even had a girlfriend, and maybe it's time for him to think again. So the reason I think that certain people in my community might challenge this book is because it's about a young man discovering sexual identity, and in the community where I live, I live in a red state, and a lot of people are intolerant of the LGBT community, even though we have people who are out and proud in that community in our town. And yeah, so that's my pick for that one, and those people who want to be hating on other people can just be garbage by themselves. Alright, last one that I'm going to pick, round number 5, and this one says, read a doorstopper more than 500 pages. F. I can do this. I can do this. I found a doorstopper. I am going to be reading the bind-up of Modern Fairy Tales by Miss Holly Black. I never actually read these. I had individual copies of the Modern Fairy Tales books in my classroom library years ago, and I had a student who was just in love with them, and she was having a hard time transitioning to high school, so I just said, take these books with you. And so I never got around to reading them. And then when I saw this beautiful bind-up in the store one time, I thought, you know what? I never read those. I need to pick it up again. So now's the time. Alright, so cool. We are going to be reading these 5 books this month, and maybe more, depending. This is my birthday month, and I have a tendency to tell myself that I need to buy new books for myself for my birthday. I don't need to, because I have plenty of books to choose from, but excuses, right? Anything to enable myself to buy more books. Plus, I'll have some new ones coming in subscription boxes and stuff, I'm sure, so we'll see. But definitely going to hit these ones, and there we go. So I hope you guys are having a great month of September as far as reading goes, or in general. And I hope you continue to have wonderful and bookish days. Happy reading. Adios.